The silent colony, the colony of Aurora Prime, was far from Earth. A shining jewel among the stars. It was a place of laughter, of families, of children playing under twin suns. It was a symbol of how far humanity had come. People called it the heart of the outer rim, because it was full of hope. But one night that heart went silent. No signals, no messages, no ships leaving port one by one. The communication relays fell quiet. Traders who once sent daily reports vanished without a trace, and the once bright skies above Aurora Prime were now nothing but ashes drifting through space. A patrol ship named Horizon was the first to arrive. Its crew had expected to see busy docks and glowing city lights. Instead, they found only ruins. Broken towers rising from smoke, empty streets filled with shadows, and the surface burned as if the heavens had poured fire upon it. The captain of Horizon whispered to his crew, his voice trembling, "Send a signal back, tell command. The colony is gone." His words carried across the deck like a curse. No one spoke. No one breathed, because they all knew what it meant. The data they gathered was strange. Fragments of video, flashes of massive warships cutting through the skies, beams of energy tearing cities apart, screams of families running, and then silence. Only silence back on Earth. Leaders gathered in secret chambers, admirals, presidents, and ministers stared at the broken recordings. One admiral clenched his fists so tightly his knuckles turned white. "This is no accident, this is war," he said, his voice shaking with anger. But the politicians hesitated. Some said humanity was too stretched, too scattered to fight. Others whispered that perhaps it was pirates or rebels, not a powerful empire. The arguments went on, but in the hearts of the people, fear had already taken root. The news spread fast, through colonies, through ships, through mining stations at the edge of known space. Mothers held their children tighter. Soldiers sharpened their blades and polished their rifles. Merchants closed their trade routes because all of them knew, if one colony could fall, others could follow. Among the whispers came a recording. A final message intercepted from Aurora Prime. The voice was young, trembling, filled with terror. "Please, someone help us, they are burning everything. The ships are in the sky, Mama, Papa." And then the sound cut off, replaced by static. That recording spread across every human world, and with every replay, anger grew. It was no longer only about a colony. It was about children, families, humanity itself. The galaxy had shown its teeth, and now humanity felt the sting. In the great halls of the Galactic Council, alien leaders mocked the humans. Some said humans were too emotional, too weak, that they would cry but never fight. One alien ambassador laughed, his scales glittering in the light. "Humans are fire, yes, but fire burns out quickly," he said, but he was wrong. Humanity did not burn out. It burned brighter. The loss of Aurora Prime was a spark, and that spark would light a storm across the stars. In hidden hangars, massive warships powered up their engines. Thousands of mechanics worked day and night, turning rusting hulks into weapons of war. Pilots kissed their families goodbye. Soldiers swore oaths that they would not rest until justice was done. In quiet corners, some prayed, some wept, some sharpened knives, but all of them waited for the same thing. A signal, a command, a call to arms, and far away, in the darkness of space, fleets gathered. 500,000 warships being readied, their metal bodies shining under starlight, each one carrying the weight of vengeance. But in this first moment before the storm, there was only silence, the silence of a dead colony, the silence before war, the silence that made the galaxy tremble, the call of vengeance. The destruction of Aurora Prime spread like fire through human space. No world was untouched by the whispers. No family was spared from fear in the markets of Mars. Traders lowered their voices and asked if their home would be next on Luna. Soldiers stood in silence as the broken recording of a child's last cry played on the screens. In the far asteroid belts, miners swore revenge as they raised their pickaxes toward the stars. On Earth, the council chambers echoed with arguments. Politicians called for patience, for diplomacy, but the admirals had already made their choice. The loss of one colony meant all colonies were in danger. One admiral, an old man with scars across his face, slammed his hand on the table. "We do not wait, we answer," he growled, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of struggle. The order went out. Every shipyard was to work without rest. Every pilot was to report. Every engineer was to rise from their bunk and prepare for war. Factories that once built freighters now forged weapons. Assembly lines that once made farming tools now rolled out rifles and armor. In the void, fleets began to gather from every corner of human space. Warships crawled toward rendezvous points. A silent migration of steel and fire. One ship became 10, 10 became 100, 100 became thousands. until 500,000 human warships filled the dark like a storm on the horizon. On board those ships, fear mixed with anger. Young cadets whispered that they had never seen battle. Veterans placed hands on their shoulders and said, "You will, and you will not run." Mothers who had joined as medics stared at pictures of their children, promising themselves they would return. Soldiers carved the names of Aurora Prime's lost citizens into the walls of their barracks, so they would never forget why they fought. The alien council, watching from their shining spires, laughed at the sight of humans gathering. 500,000 ships, one alien sneered. 500,000 coffins, but their laughter masked unease, because deep in their hearts they remembered old stories, whispers of what humans had done when pushed too far. One night, as the fleets aligned, a human admiral spoke to the galaxy, his face broadcast across every world, his eyes cold as stone. "They thought Aurora Prime would break us," he said. "But they have awakened something they do not understand." His voice shook the air, steady and unyielding. "For every child they silenced, we will answer with thunder. For every city they burned, we will burn their empire down. We do not fight for glory, we fight for survival, and we will not stop." The word spread through the stars, through the colonies, through the hidden corners of space, and humanity rose as one. Mechanics worked with bleeding hands, pilots slept in their cockpits, soldiers trained until their bodies broke, because they all knew that soon the call would come, and then it did. The command echoed across the stars. 3 words that made every human heart beat faster. "Launch the fleet," engines roared. 500,000 warships powered up, their lights piercing the darkness. Space trembled as the formation shifted. Massive carriers, swift destroyers, and heavy battleships aligned into a wave of steel. A storm ready to strike from the viewports. Civilians on nearby stations watched in silence, their eyes wide as the endless armada stretched farther than sight. Children pressed their faces to the glass, whispering that the stars had been replaced by ships. Yet in that grand display of power, there was no joy, only silence, only purpose. Humanity did not cheer, humanity prepared, because they knew the road ahead was not victory but sacrifice in the cold darkness. A soldier on one of the smallest frigates placed his hand on the console and whispered to himself, "Aurora Prime, this is for you." Around him, millions thought the same, their voices silent, but their hearts burning, and somewhere deep in the alien empire, leaders felt a chill run through their spines because they realized the truth too late. The call of vengeance had been answered and humanity was coming. First clash of stars, the human fleet surged forward like a rising tide. 500,000 warships leaving trails of light across the void. They moved in silence, but that silence carried more power than any war cry. Every soldier, every pilot, every captain knew the weight of this moment. Humanity had not marched to war in such strength for centuries, and now the galaxy was about to learn what that meant. Scout ships flew ahead, their sensors sweeping the border of alien space. It did not take long before the enemy revealed itself. On the far edge of a red star system, alien cruisers appeared, dark shapes bristling with weapons. More followed, then more, until the horizon filled with hostile ships. The alien commander laughed from his flagship, his voice broadcast to his subordinates. "Look at them," he sneered. "A sea of human ships, fragile and slow. They think numbers will save them." His laughter echoed, but his eyes twitched when he saw the sheer scale. In the human flagship, Admiral Kane stood tall, his hands resting on the command rail, his voice calm but sharp. "They expect us to break. They think fear will scatter us. We will show them who we are." His officers nodded, their eyes fixed on the screens. Then the first shot was fired, a blazing spear of energy that tore through the black and struck a human destroyer. The ship cracked apart, fire spilling into the void. The battle had begun. Human ships responded. Missiles streaked across the darkness, railguns thundered. Beams of light cut across the alien ranks. The void itself seemed to shake as the two armadas collided. Squadrons of human fighters darted forward, weaving between alien cannons tiny against the giants. Yet deadly, they struck engines, they blinded sensors. They lured alien ships into ambushes. One squadron sacrificed themselves to open a hole in the enemy line, their voices calm as they whispered goodbyes before vanishing in fire. On the ground stations of nearby colonies, civilians watched the battle through shaky transmissions, their hands trembling as they saw the sheer violence of it, stars burning with the light of exploding ships. Children cried out, mothers turned away, but fathers whispered, "Look, we are fighting back." The alien fleet pressed harder, confident in their firepower. Their weapons shredded human lines, ships burned. Entire formations vanished in storms of light, but humanity did not scatter. They shifted, regrouped, attacked from new angles. Their strategy was not brute strength. It was sacrifice and cunning. Captain Reyes, commanding a smaller cruiser, made a choice that would be remembered. With her ship damaged and her crew wounded, she drove her vessel straight into an alien battleship, locking her weapons to overload. Her final words echoed through the fleet. For Aurora Prime. Then the screen went white. The alien battleship shattered. The humans pressed the advantage, slipping through gaps left by their fallen comrades. Their fleets moved like waves, crashing again and again. And with every crash, alien ships fell. Yet the aliens were not weak. They fought with venom, with hatred, with the cold confidence of an empire that had crushed countless species before, and for a moment it seemed as if humanity might bend under their weight. But then, something changed. Human Marines boarded an enemy carrier. Their armor blackened, their blades sharp. They fought through corridors of fire until they reached the command core. There they captured the alien commander alive, dragging him back across the void in the interrogation chamber. The alien laughed, even with chains around his neck, his voice deep and cruel. "You think this was revenge for your colony," he hissed. "You are wrong. Aurora Prime was nothing. Just the first stone we cast into the pond. Your destruction has only begun." The words spread like poison through the human ranks. Whispers passed from ship to ship. If Aurora Prime was only the beginning, then the enemy's plan was far darker than anyone imagined. Admiral Kane stood once more before his officers, his voice steady though his eyes burned with fire. "They think this battle will break us," he said. "But they do not understand. Every ship we lose makes us stronger. Every soldier we bury makes us more furious. Humanity does not bend, humanity does not kneel." And outside, the clash of stars continued. A storm of fire and steel that shook the galaxy. The first true battle of a war that would decide the future of all. The rising storm. The news of the first battle spread faster than light. Across every colony, every station, every mining outpost, humans watched the shaky recordings of burning ships and heard the voices of fallen captains. The galaxy trembled because humanity had shown that it would not break. But victory had a price. Thousands of ships destroyed. Countless lives lost. And yet humanity did not retreat. Instead, the pain became fuel. Grief became fire. And the call for vengeance only grew louder. In the hidden chambers of the Galactic Council, alien leaders argued in panic. One ambassador hissed, "We warned you, humans do not stop." "They rise from ashes," another sneered. "They are still fragile. Their fleets are stretched. Their colonies exposed. We must crush them now before they grow stronger." Their voices clashed, their fear hidden behind arrogance, but deep inside they all knew something dangerous was coming in human space. The admirals planned the largest offensive in history. They gathered around vast star maps, lines of light marking enemy strongholds. Their voices steady, their eyes tired but sharp. Admiral Kane spoke. "We do not strike one world, we strike all. We push them back so far they will never recover." His officers nodded, because they understood that half measures would mean extinction. Shipyards burned with light as new warships were built. Old hulks were reforged into weapons. Factories sang with the sound of hammers. Every worker, every child, every elder felt the storm rising in the silence of space. Fleets assembled once more, this time not to defend, but to invade. Among the soldiers, the mood was different now. The fear of the first battle had been replaced with grim determination. They carved new names into their armor. Not only Aurora Prime, but also the fallen ships. The captains, the Marines who had given everything. Their memory carried forward like banners of fire. In the alien empire, spies reported strange movements, fleets shifting deeper into their core, massive stations being built, whispers of a secret weapon that could destroy entire armadas in a single strike. Humanity's intelligence networks brought fragments of information, enough to know that something terrible awaited them. When the rumor reached the admirals, silence fell across the chamber. Admiral Kane looked at the shadowy recordings, strange shapes hidden in mist, and said, "They prepare their storm. We must prepare ours." The next days were filled with chaos. Training without pause, drills that broke bones, simulations that ended in death after death, and yet the soldiers rose again. They learned faster, harder, because they knew they had no other choice. On one transport ship, a young pilot stared at the stars and whispered to his friend, "Do you think we will win?" His friend smiled weakly. "No, I think we will survive, and that is enough." As the fleets gathered, the galaxy watched silent and afraid. Other species debated quietly. Should they support the humans, or should they stay silent and hope the storm would pass? Most chose silence because they feared both sides. But humanity did not ask for help. Humanity stood alone, its fleets like thunderheads, its soldiers like lightning waiting to strike. The day came. The command echoed once again. Launch the offensive, the rising storm began. 500,000 warships cutting through the darkness, their engines roaring, their weapons armed, their banners lit with the names of the fallen. Alien scouts saw them coming and fled, carrying warnings back to their leaders. Warnings that came too late because the storm was already here. On the edge of alien space, battles ignited. Small outposts crumbled under the first human wave. Entire fleets vanished in fire. The humans moved with ruthless precision, striking not only ships but supply lines, fuel depots, communication hubs. Everywhere the Empire turned there was fire, and yet, in the heart of the alien empire, their leaders smiled coldly, because their secret weapon was almost ready, and humanity, though rising like a storm, did not yet know that the greatest battle still waited in the shadows. Fire in the void, the storm had begun. 500,000 human warships poured into alien space like an endless tide. The void itself glowed with the trails of engines and the flash of weapons. Stars that had once been quiet now burned with the light of war. The first wave struck hard. Human fleets tearing into outer defenses. Alien strongholds crumbled under the relentless assault. One by one, their stations fell. Their ships scattered. The Empire had grown used to crushing weak enemies. But now they faced something they had never known. Humanity united in fury. The battles were brutal. Alien fleets fought with venom. Their weapons screamed across the void. Yet human formations held. Squadrons darted in and out like wolves. Carriers launched endless fighters. Railguns cracked open enemy hulls. Missiles filled the darkness like falling stars in the human flagship. Admiral Kane stood silent as the battle unfolded, his eyes cold but burning. "We strike not for conquest," he said, his voice steady. "We strike for every voice silenced at Aurora Prime." His crew listened, their hearts heavy, their resolve unbroken. But the Empire was not yet broken. Far from it, as the humans pressed deeper, resistance grew sharper. Massive dreadnoughts emerged, their cannons larger than entire human frigates. Alien commanders laughed as they unleashed storms of plasma. Whole wings of human ships were erased in seconds. Still, humanity answered. Captains sacrificed themselves to protect the fleet. Marines boarded alien carriers, fighting in corridors filled with smoke and blood. Small victories came at terrible cost, and yet each one pushed the humans closer to the Empire's core. Then came the moment. The first glimpse of the weapon. On the edge of a shattered world, sensors detected it. A massive shape hidden in shadow. Larger than any station, glowing with energy. It did not look like a ship. It looked like a star bound in chains. The alien emperor's voice spread across the battlefield, booming through every channel. "You thought your fury would save you," he hissed. "But fury is nothing before power. Behold the Annihilator." The eater of fleets, the weapon came alive. A single blast tore through the void. The beam brighter than suns. Hundreds of human ships vanished in an instant. Screams cut across comms before silence returned. Panic rippled through the fleet. Some voices shouted to retreat. Others demanded vengeance. Admiral Kane gripped the rail so tightly his hands bled. "Hold the line," he ordered, his voice iron. "We cannot break here." Not now, but the weapon fired again and again, each strike consuming dozens. Then hundreds of ships, the void filled with wreckage. Human fleets reeled under the fury. It seemed as if the storm would be broken in the chaos. A small group of soldiers whispered to each other. Their leader, Captain Alara, spoke softly but with fire. "That thing cannot keep firing without a heart. Every weapon has a core. We find it, we break it, even if it costs us everything." Their frigate, battered and burning, turned toward the Annihilator, slipping between alien escorts, dodging fire. Weaving through chaos, their mission was simple and impossible. Reach the weapon's heart. Destroy it from within. As they closed in, alien interceptors swarmed them. The crew fought back with everything they had. Turrets blazed, Marines repelled boarders. One by one, friends fell. But the frigate pushed forward, its engines screaming. The rest of the fleet saw their movement and rallied. Human warships threw themselves into the path of enemy fire, shielding the small vessel with their lives. Across the comms came whispers. "Protect them. They carry our hope." In the flagship, Admiral Kane closed his eyes for a moment, then spoke. "If they succeed, we live. If they fail, humanity dies. May the stars guide them." The frigate pierced the defenses and vanished into the shadows of the Annihilator. Silence followed. No one knew what happened inside. No one knew if they had reached the core. But all of humanity held its breath, waiting, and in that silence, in that void filled with wreckage and fire, the galaxy trembled once more. The price of fury, the void burned with wreckage. The Annihilator fired again and again, each blast tearing entire formations apart. Human ships scattered like sparks, but they did not flee. They regrouped, they fought, they sacrificed. Admiral Kane watched from his flagship as numbers dropped on his screen. Red markers for fallen ships multiplied until the map was almost nothing but loss. His jaw clenched, his hands shook, but his voice remained steady. "Hold the line. We will not break here." Inside the Annihilator, Captain Alara and her strike team pushed through twisted corridors. Alien metal glowed with strange energy. Walls pulsed like veins. It felt less like a machine and more like a living monster. Marines fired at defenders who came rushing through the shadows. Their rifles lit the dark, their boots echoed like thunder. Outside, the fleet bled. Carriers went down one by one. Destroyers cracked open under fire, and still humanity fought. Entire squadrons threw themselves between the weapon and the rest of the fleet, their voices steady as they said farewell before being consumed by the next blast. Captain Alara's team reached the inner chamber, and there it was. The core. A swirling heart of light bound by chains of black crystal. Its energy pulsed like a heartbeat every time it throbbed. Another blast tore into the human fleet. "That's it," Alara whispered, her eyes wide. "The heart of this monster." Her team began placing charges, their hands shaking, sweat dripping under their helmets. Each second felt like an eternity. Back in the fleet, panic threatened to spread. Some captains begged for retreat, but others shouted them down. "We cannot abandon them if they fail. We are finished." Their words carried across the comms. Raw and desperate, the Annihilator charged again. The beam lit the void. Another wave of ships vanished. Screams filled the air, then cut into silence. Admiral Kane slammed his fist on the rail. "Alara, hurry," he whispered, though she could not hear. Inside, defenders surged into the chamber, claws and blades flashing. The Marines held the line. One by one they fell, buying seconds, just seconds, as Alara armed the final charge. She looked at her dwindling team. Only 3 remained, faces bloodied, eyes burning. "Once this goes, we don't leave," she said, her voice steady. "But humanity will." They nodded without hesitation. One Marine smiled faintly. Better to die here than live under their shadow outside. The Annihilator charged again, its glow brighter than ever. The final shot ready to erase what was left of the human fleet. But then the void shook with a different light. A shockwave burst outward from the weapon's core. The charges had detonated. The Annihilator screamed like a dying beast. Its glow flickered. Its chains cracked, its heart collapsed into fire. A blinding explosion ripped through the void. Alien ships caught near it were torn apart instantly. Even human vessels shook and reeled under the shockwave. For a moment, the entire battlefield went silent. Only static filled the comms. Admiral Kane opened his eyes slowly. The massive shape of the Annihilator was gone. Nothing left but drifting debris and a fading light. But the price was heavy. Thousands upon thousands of human ships gone. Countless lives lost. The fleet reduced almost by half. The victory felt like ashes. Yet in that silence, voices began to whisper. Not of defeat, but of pride. "They did it," one captain breathed. "They gave everything, but they broke the monster." Cheers did not rise, only tears. Only the quiet sound of soldiers saluting the fallen. Admiral Kane stood before his crew, his voice soft but unyielding. "Today we paid with blood, with fury, with our children and our brothers, but we stand and they do not. Remember their names, remember their fire. Because this war is not over and far beyond the wreckage." Deep in the alien empire, their leaders trembled, because they had unleashed their greatest weapon. And still humanity stood, scarred but unbroken. The price of fury had been paid, but the storm had only grown stronger. When the galaxy trembled, the Annihilator was gone. Its shattered remains drifted through the void like broken bones, but the cost was carved deep into humanity's heart. Half the fleet destroyed, millions of lives silenced. The stars themselves seemed dimmer, yet humanity did not retreat even in their grief. They did not bow, they stood, scarred but unbroken, and in that silence, a new fire began to burn. Admiral Kane spoke to the fleet, his voice low but carrying across every channel. "We have bled, we have lost, but we are not finished. Our brothers and sisters gave their lives so we could stand. Now we rise, now we strike." His words fell like thunder, and every captain, every soldier, every pilot answered with silence. The silence of resolve. The fleets moved again, no longer cautious, no longer waiting. They surged into alien space with fury, their weapons lighting the dark. One world after another fell, alien strongholds burned, their fleets shattered, their commanders silenced on alien broadcasts. Terrified voices whispered, "The humans are coming." Nothing stops them. Their fear spread faster than any weapon. Entire outposts abandoned their posts before a single shot was fired. The shadow of humanity alone was enough to make them tremble, but the Empire still resisted. Their leaders gathered in vast halls, their voices desperate. "Hold the line," they cried. "Bleed them dry." But their soldiers no longer believed. Their commanders no longer trusted, because they had seen the Annihilator fall, and they knew the humans would not stop. On board the human flagship, Kane's eyes never left the map. Every victory meant more loss. Every gain meant more graves, yet he pressed forward, because to stop now would mean betrayal of those who had fallen. The humans reached the heart of the Empire, a shining world surrounded by fleets, the last defense, the last stand. And humanity came with all the fury of the storm. The battle was like no other. The void filled with fire. Carriers launched wave after wave. Dreadnoughts exchanged volleys that split space apart. Marines boarded citadels, fighting through endless halls of steel. Every soldier screamed one name, Aurora Prime, the lost colony that had begun it all. In the great palace of the alien emperor, silence fell. He looked to the sky and saw the fire raining down. His voice shook for the first time. They should not have survived. They should not have endured, but they had. And they had come for him. Human Marines stormed the palace, their boots echoing on the marble floors, their rifles raised, their eyes cold. They dragged the Emperor before the cameras of the galaxy. His chains rattled as he fell to his knees. Admiral Kane appeared on every screen, his face lined with grief, his voice like iron. "We did not start this war, but we will end it. Remember this day. Remember what happens when you strike at our children, our homes, our people. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive." The Emperor's empire collapsed, its fleet scattered, its worlds abandoned. The galaxy fell silent. Every species watched, trembling, because they knew the truth now. The humans had been wounded, yes, but not broken. Never broken, their warships still filled the stars. Their soldiers still marched forward. Their fire still burned. In the ruins of Aurora Prime, survivors returned. Planting flags among the ashes, children walked again where silence had ruled. Their voices soft but strong. Humanity had come full circle, from death to rebirth, and across the stars whispers carried. Whispers that would never die. "Do not awaken human wrath," the galaxy trembled. And it knew this was only the beginning.